Okay, this is Mark Chaffardini with GoSeeTalk.com, and I'm here with writer-director Tom Provost. Am I saying that correct?
Yes, you are.
He has directed and written the new ghost story, The Presence, and has graciously agreed to meet with us. Tom, right off the bat, it's a very spooky film and has a lot of Hitchcock elements to it, as described in your Q&A session. But right off the bat, you know, in the opening credits, the music by Conrad Pope just almost overpowers you with the theme and sets the mood for the story. Was that an important element up front?
It was very important for me. Once you see the movie, you find for 25 minutes there's virtually no dialogue. It's a very slow build. It's a very quiet movie, hopefully very creepy. People find it kind of creepy and scary. But I thought it was very important to start the movie off kind of with a bang. So we have kind of this wild credit sequence with a really driving main title by Conrad, who did a wonderful job scoring the movie. And I thought it was just important to have that at the beginning. Number one, it kind of sets the visual set the place of the movie and give the audience a sense of just how far away and how isolated this cabin where the movie takes place is. But at the same time, the point of such a driving score is to kind of let the audience know, okay, something is going to happen. You can relax and trust the filmmakers that something is going to happen, and I think that opening title helps some people get through the first 10 or 15 minutes that is so quiet and so still.
Okay. It actually, I don't know if you've seen it, it reminded me of House of the Devil, where it's almost too quiet,
right,
and it gets to that point where something had better happen or I'm going to pull my hair out.
Right.
But it does. It builds up. It's very gradual, and then when it hits, it hits.
Yeah. And I enjoy that movie very much.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, people have very different experiences of the movie. Some people are wildly passionate about the first 25 minutes. Their favorite part of the movie. They love it. It's actually my favorite part of the movie as well. Some people really wrestled with the first 25 minutes because there is no dialogue. They're not used to watching that, and it is so still and quiet. And then when the first act ends and dialogue begins, it becomes a little bit more of a conventional movie. That section of the audience then really responds to the movie, and I hear a lot of people say, I wasn't quite sure what was going on at the beginning, but by the time I got to the end, then I liked the first section. So,
okay.
But it could be too slow. I don't know.
And yeah, and I can understand it could either split 50-50.
Right.
Some people love it, some people hate it.
Exactly.
I quite enjoy it. My wife, she needs constant attention and
right.
Boom, boom, boom.
But, okay, so she found it too slow. Yeah.
But I saw it in the credits as well. Mira Sorvino is not, in addition to being a star, she's an executive producer.
Yes.
How much control, how much input did she have in this?
She didn't really have any control, but she definitely had some creative input, particularly with her character. There's some backstory in the script that wasn't there originally, and as she and I were working on the character, I don't really give anything away, but as she actually came up with some ideas of certain things that had happened in the character's past, and we began to integrate those into the script. And they were really good ideas, and she also was involved, as opposed to the other actors, she was involved with the movie a little bit before that as well.
Okay. Well, being the star, and it was a pretty fantastic cast. I mean, they were solid, and even Shane West, who pulled the Terminator, was able to do a whole lot with very little. Were the parts written for them specifically, or did you have anybody in mind?
They were not. I didn't have anybody in mind. I knew it was going to be a very low-budget movie. I even had intended it to be about $100,000 or $200,000 movie. It ended up being around $9 once we started adding the cast. And I really had no idea I could attract the caliber of cast that I did, but I wanted very good actors. And so when I was writing the movie, my focus was to write 4 terrific parts that would perhaps attract a type of actor who normally wouldn't be in such a low-budget movie. And consequently, we were able to get really good actors who agreed to work for nothing because they just loved the part so much. I mean, Mira's part is so strong. She has a lot of colors in it. And Shane, for instance, has a really difficult part. He has one line of dialogue, and he's on screen most of the time. He has to do all his acting through his eyes, and it's kind of one of the great acting challenges an actor can have. He was really fired up to do it, and I think he did a great job.
Yeah, it was actually quite impressive because you don't see a lot of actors today that can pull a lot of emotion out of just their eyes.
Right.
I can only think of maybe Mark Strong, who's a great British actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he just with a look, he can paralyze you. But I thought that Shane really handled the material well for what he was able to do.
I mean, I even restricted him in the first half of the movie to playing a ghost, and so until a certain particular point in the movie, he could not move, he could not breathe, he couldn't even blink, and because I wanted him to be, kind of this creepy, ethereal ghost, and so he literally had to do everything through his eyes, and again, it was a really tough part, and I think he does a great job of it. People seem to love him in the movie.
Well, the film has a definite Hitchcock feel to it, even going as far as having a very small cast with even the ambiguous names. It kind of felt, to me personally, like a feature-length Rod Serling episode of The Twilight Zone. And I'm curious, what were your influences?
My strongest influences, I would say, I mean, Hitchcock, of course. I feel kind of silly mentioning his name because he's the best, I think. And the Hitchcock references come from other people, not really me. Because I feel embarrassed comparing myself to him. People call it that, though, because, again, with so much of the movie, even past the beginning, having the dialogue, we were really trying to explore the idea of pure cinema, telling a story just through the visuals, through the sound, and the music. So I think that's why a lot of people call it Hitchcockian. For me, I'm a huge Polanski fan, and a fan of Rosemary's Baby in particular. And that movie had a big influence on me. It's a movie where nothing happens, and yet it becomes very creepy and scary. And I think it's one of the best directed movies of all time. So Polanski's Rosemary's Baby had a big effect. And then probably the biggest is a great director. A lot of people don't know that much about Alan J. Pakula. And he did a lot of wonderful movies in the 70s. Clue, in particular, was one of my favorite films. And if you watch his movies and then watch The Presidents, you'll really see how much he influenced me in terms of framing and stillness, using long single takes, shot kind of wide, playing with light in the frame. He's a really great director, and I hope people keep going back and rediscovering his films.
Okay. Well, it's funny you mentioned Rosemary's Baby, because I talked to my wife afterwards, and I brought up Rosemary's Baby. I thought, is it just me? And she didn't quite see it, but I'm quite interested to hear that you bring that up. So.
I mean, it's such a brilliantly made film, and my editor also is in love with it. So I think for both of us, it's our favorite movie. That's one of the things we clicked over, and one of the reasons I hired her was because we really wanted to try to make this movie like that, in that at times nothing might be happening, but you start to kind of creep the audience out by the fact that nothing's happening, but there are just things happening around the edges of the movie as well that start to creep in.
And I noticed that. That was very effective. It's funny when it's billed as a romantic ghost story. Now, do you feel that's an accurate portrayal of the movie? Is that a good tagline?
To be quite frank, we are having a real hard time nailing what the movie is. And we set out to do something kind of original, and I guess we succeeded because one of the things I keep hearing from people as well, I've never seen anything like that. It's a really original movie, which in one sense is great. We did something different. From a marketing standpoint, it's really tough because we don't know what to call it. You can't call it a horror movie. If somebody thinks it's a horror movie, they're going to hate it because there's no blood, there's no guts, it's very quiet. We started calling it kind of a romantic gothic ghost story because a lot of women passionately love the movie, and they really respond to it, and they find it very darkly romantic, like we hear Rebecca a lot, both the book and the Hitchcock film, which is one of my favorite movies also, or Jane Eyre. There's something about the movie, maybe it's that a dreamy-looking ghost is kind of stalking this woman, that makes women respond to the movie in a very darkly romantic way. I didn't really set out to make a movie that was darkly romantic, but it definitely has that effect on women in particular.